Today I'm just giving you a quick rundown on how to install a set of Cycra Pro-bend handguards. I've got the Ultra series here, which comes with handlebar clamps. It just takes up a lot less room on the handlebars, but check these out. Be so sweet. Say hi to the camera, Luna. Hey girl. Be so cute. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do, if you're on your clutch side, you want to take a look at this bolt right here. That's a T30. You've also got one on your brake side here. And we're going to remove those, that way we can get these factory flag guards off and move on to the next step. Alright, so once you've removed your bolt off of this clutch side, be super careful to watch the spring when you're removing this clutch lever. Just gently remove it, or this spring may go flying. Once you get that, all that's left is taking that zip tie off, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my clutch lever put back on here. I don't have it tightened quite back up yet, but your dealer should have included one of these black bolts here that you see. It's going to be different than the one that originally came in it. And on the bottom there, you can see the nut that it's supplied with, a little nylock nut. Just tighten that guy right on up, and then we can move on. Alright, so as you can see, I have tightened up the clutch lever and the brake lever. In the box that KTM includes with your machine, you should have gotten these little rubber guards. Just make sure to put those on once you've got everything tightened up. As you can see, you got one on the brake side as well. Easiest way to know which bolt goes on which side. Clutch side is going to be an 8mm on the bolt and the nut, and then your brake side is a 10mm bolt and nut on this side. Alright, so next up here, we're removing these two T40s off of the handlebar clamp. Just going to remove one handlebar clamp at a time, that way I can retain where my bars are set to. And then once we pull those off, going to be replacing those with the new Cycra clamps that'll go just like that with the factory hardware. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my handlebar clamps mounted up. See how I've got those routed just as factory as possible. I am going to keep an eye on this brake hose though. If it seems to be that it's rubbing, I may end up taking that down and adjusting it to where it goes underneath that handlebar clamp, but just as something to keep an eye on. Next step though, taking a look over here on the clutch side. This little guy down here is going to be pretty hard to see, but that is a T15 Torx bit. No, it looks like an Allen key, but it is a tiny little Torx bit. I've got mine moved out just a little bit, that way I can take the end of this grip off, and then we can work on getting the bark busters on. Alright, just showing, updating my progress. Took my Milwaukee Dremel tool with the cutoff wheel and just slowly worked my way around the grip. As you can see, I slid the grip back in so you can see how flush it looks there. Pretty darn close, so that'll work. Alright, so now we're getting down to the point where you have these specialty bolts with the inside retainer. As you can see, they give you two different options here. As you can see, one is kind of straight and the other flares out towards the end. So if you've got your stock bars, you're going to want to use the one that is more straight. As you can see, I've got that nut kind of tightened up just a little bit, but not too tight. Just want to make it where it'll just barely fit in there, just enough gentle pressure to where it'll pop in. I found that that makes it a lot easier when you go to tighten this guy up. With the bark buster on there, it seems to grip the inside of the bar pretty easy. Just remember, not this one. Make sure to use the straight-sided retainer, and then we can grab our bark buster and bolt this guy in. Alright, another update coming at you. As you can see, I've got my bark buster mounted to the handlebar clamp, and it is also bolted up inside of the handlebar. Both bolts that you see here, so you've got this bolt right here that goes in the end of the grip. That is an size 8 Allen key. And then also you'll find a size 8 Allen key, pretty hard to see because it's black on black, but size 8 right there, just the way my bars, still factory size. Ended up using the first hole here on the bark buster and the middle hole there inside of the handlebar clamp. Also, just found that it was easier to just go ahead and unstrap the headlight from both sides. That way, not trying to, you know, bolt stuff up right there with the headlight right in your way. So now it's easier to move out of the way. So just make sure to unstrap that on both sides, and that guy just comes right out of the way. Alright, so once we've got the bark buster mounted up, next step, you've got this plastic piece that says Probend across it there. On the clutch side, it's just going to mount up just like that right there. So if I can do this one-handed. You got a hole right there, and one on the front. First one you want to get is this hole right here, and then this little orange plastic guard here is going to go over the black piece. So orange piece over the top of the black piece. So black piece first. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my black plastic here halfway mounted to the bark buster. Just started with this little Allen key here. You'll notice this is what's supplied in the hardware pack. Allen key bolt on the outside, and you've got this little nut. Goes on the back of the inside. It's kind of hard to see there, but right here you can see where they've got it machined out. That little guy there is what slides right into that hole there. So just make sure you line that up. Next step, like I said, I'm going to be grabbing the orange plastic piece, and it'll cover over the top of this black piece here, this little leg, and then I'll bolt that guy up. Alright, so you can see I've got my clutch side finished up, got my plastic handguards all mounted up. Went ahead and put the mud inserts in there. I just prefer that look, and a little bit of extra water protection doesn't really do a whole lot, but that's just what I prefer. So got the clutch side done. Let's go ahead and move on to the throttle side. Alright, so moving to the throttle side, I just took my T30, loosened these two guys up, and then slid the grip out to the far right. Then just hand tighten those back down. That way I've got enough room. When I cut the grip, I'm not going to go through and hit the bar at the same time. Where I'm cutting it is just right here on the inside of this lip. That way it just gives it a good clean edge, and then when I slide the grip back in, it's perfectly smooth. Just a little update. Just finished cutting the throttle side grip. Biggest thing, guys, you want to look out for on this side is making sure once you get the bark buster mounted back up that you're not running any kind of interference with your throttle tube and the bark buster. Therefore, you know, if you have that issue, you know, you could potentially have a throttle hang, and well, we all know how that can go. So biggest thing you want to check once you get that done, get the grip cut, make sure the bark buster is mounted up, and then just check. Yeah, obviously I've not got any kind of stick there. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but you can tell. You can see that the bark buster has plenty of clearance there with the throttle tube, and got everything mounted up there, and pretty much the rest of it's just like the clutch side. So let's get the orange and black plastic, get it mounted up and see how she looks. Alright, so I've got the handguards finished up. One quick note, I did miss, so right there at the beginning where I was telling you to reuse your factory handlebar clamp bolts, Cycra does provide their own bolts for the handguard mounts. So just pay attention there on the handlebar clamps there, that you're using their bolts. They are just a little bit longer. It's going to be a 12mm on those, so just keep that in mind. And hope everybody enjoyed this video. Luna's coming to say hey one more time, and I think those turned out pretty good.